Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining Wingspan. So Wingspan is set up as a two-player game at the moment. If you're playing with a larger player count, it sets up exactly the same. We start by everyone receiving 5 cards and 2 of these special play cards, which are just here. You're not going to see many of them during the game, but you will see some of them. The other thing that each player receives is one of each of the food types, and they've also got all of their cubes. The first thing that every player needs to do is reduce the size of their hand. So out of the 2 special cards, you'll only keep one of those 2. Then, for every card that you keep, out of the 5 main cards that you get, you need to spend 1 of the food tokens. So if he hangs onto all 5 cards, he starts with 0 food. If he hangs onto 4 cards, he starts with 1 food. 3 cards, 2 food. You get the idea. So that decision is the very first thing to kind of come across. Once that decision has been made, play will start. Play will start with the first player. On your turn, you'll choose one thing to do. There are 4 possible actions that could happen. You'll choose one of them. You'll mark which one you're choosing by putting a cube onto it. So he might choose to do this bottom one, which is draw a card. When you draw a card, you're selecting from one of the 3 cards up here. There's a fair bit of information on each of the cards. So let's have a look at it. The first piece of information in the top left tells you where this bird is able to set up. So if it's the left one, that's in the water area, which is down here. If it's this one, we're going for the grasslands. And if there's a picture of the tree on top, that's in the forest area. The next piece of information on the top of the card is what the bird needs to draw that to the area. So in this case, he needs a fish, and that circle means 1 of any other food type. And so you would need to have a fish and another food type, and you would spend them back into the general display area, the bank, I guess you'd call it. That's all you would need to do to actually be able to play the card. And I'll get to where we play the card or what action we need to do to play the card. But other pieces of information on the card are how many points you'll get at the end of the game for having this card on your board, what type of nest they're in. This is important because of these points. So I'll go through what that means in a second, but that is where you will find the information. Then we have how many eggs can be on this card. The other piece of information is the wingspan. Now that seems like innocuous information, but some cards are looking for other cards with specific wingspans, and that's when that comes into play. Then we have this area on the bottom. There are 3 options with this area on the bottom. If it's in the brown color, that will get actioned as we move along the track. So if I've chosen this spot and there is a card here, I would do this action first, which is gain an extra card into my hand. Now, at the end of that turn, this card should have been replaced. So I'd have those 2 to choose from, or the face down one that's sitting on the top of the deck. So I'll just grab 1 card for the moment. It doesn't really matter what it is. The below the line thing is an optional extra, so I could spend an egg to get another card if I had an egg. I don't have any eggs yet. I will get to them in a second. Once that's happened, this cube then moves along and we action any of the brown stuff that's on the bottom of the card. So this one is when activated, discard an egg to draw 2 more cards. So if I had an egg, I could get 2 more cards. I don't have an egg, so I can't action that card. And then it moves along to its final area. So if we move up to the next spot, which is gain eggs, here we're gaining 2 eggs. If I had put this guy here, I would have the option of spending a food to gain a 3rd egg. And each thing gets better as we go along. So you gain 2 eggs, they go onto the card, and you can put them on any cards that you wish. I just only have 1 card there, so I will only put them on 1. We're at the maximum of 2 eggs, which now means that if I move this to here, I can discard 1 of those 2 eggs to gain 2 more cards. Once again, I'm choosing from the cards there or there. If I have previously picked up a card this turn for any reason, that stays empty until the end of my turn. So the beginning of the next person's turn, that's when new cards come out. So I could discard an egg, which I've just done, to take 2 new cards, and I could take that one and that if I wished. And then that comes along to the end. The 3rd line up is to grab from the food from the bird feeder. So what we're looking at is we have these options. And I might go, oh, I really need to have some fish. So I would take one fish from the bird feeder and I would take a fish token and throw it into the rest of the bird food stuff that I can have. The next person who goes to the bird feeder can choose from any of these four. They might choose, say, this one. The next person only has 3 to choose from. And that keeps going until there's only one thing left in the feeder. At the point where there's only one type. So it could be that there are multiples of the one type of food. If that's the case, the person who is choosing can select to take that food if they wish, or they can select to take all of the food type and re-roll them. And then suddenly they can choose from what has been rolled now. The other thing to be aware of with food, if you are looking to feed a bird to get it into one of your sanctuary areas, and you don't happen to have a fish, so let's say that one wasn't there, if that's what his stock of food looked like, he could spend 2 as if they are the fish, and then the 1 for the circle to get that bird into his sanctuary. And the other area, which I've already run through how to do it, is up the top. That is playing a bird out of your hand. So I played this out of my hand earlier to kind of give you an idea of what's happening. The way to play this bird is by going onto the top area with your cube, and you can put it in anywhere below the cube. I could right now put my cube here. If I were to put the cube there, it would cost me 1 egg to be able to gain a bird into that area. So it would cost me that egg to put that down, and then I would need to also feed the bird, which is 1 mouse, which doesn't have, so it wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Now the other thing to take into account is this coloured section on the bottom. So we were talking about the brown ones earlier. If you play a card onto your board that has no colour on it, you will get this action just when you play it. So it's only a one-off action, only happens once. When you play it onto your board, that's when you'll get it. If you play a card with the pink action on it, while that's sitting on your board, that can action during an opponent's turn. It won't action during your own, but it could action during an opponent's turn. Now, every one of these has different writing on them, or there's a lot of different writing, should I say. So it's worthwhile noticing those things. The only other thing to be aware of is this symbol. There will be some of the pink bottomed cards that are saying whenever that symbol is activated, that's when it will happen. So looking out for that symbol is a worthwhile thing to do. The game will continue until each player has used all of their cubes on various areas, whatever they're using it for. Once that happens, everyone has had their 8 turns to start with. We'll then come up to this. This is end of round stuff, and we're looking for whoever has the most of each thing. So there is a thing on the rules that says what you're aiming for, but this one is looking for birds in the forest area. This one is looking for eggs in the water area. So total number of eggs in the water area, total number of birds in the forest area. This one's looking for your total number of birds full stop. So whoever has the most birds will get the highest score on that. And when you do get it, by the way, you'll put one of your cubes there to mark you've got that many points for the end of the game. If 2 players, so if you're in a larger player count game, if 2 players get the same thing, we don't put any cubes on that one. The cubes then go to lower down, and that would be worth 5 points total. So split between the 2, it's 2 points each with a rounding down. There is the opposite side of that card, which is blue, and you're basically gaining a point per item up to a maximum of 5 items for each thing that you're getting. So you're still marking it, it's just not quite as competitive as the green side of that board. And then on to obviously the last one is the number of birds that have that nest type, which we're looking at this area of the card. So looking for the egg nest type, which is that one. And I think that is everything that needs to be said for Wingspan. Other than there is a first player marker, and at the end of the first round, that first player will go to the next player around, and they will obviously start the round for you. If you'd like to see this game in action, please go ahead and watch my gameplay. Otherwise, that is it for Wingspan. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplayed, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Gamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.